All right, welcome back, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Rose, with Kiera Williams, another host. And then today we have a special guest, Gabrielle Souza, someone who's actually been here before. And I'm really excited about having back today because we have a lot to go into, a lot of catching up to do. And yeah, so Gabrielle, how are you today?
Hi, how y'all doing? Thank y'all for having me back. I'm so excited. Um,
Yeah.
I'm great. I'm sure that people probably watching this will probably be like, "Wait, I remember the name, but she does look a little bit different." So we'll get into that, I'm sure, at some point. But I'm really excited to be here. Thank y'all both for having me.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
thank you.
So let me see, where would we start? So first I want to say that Gabrielle is an executive at the Okra Project. And so can you like talk about that just to give them a brief little refresher?
Absolutely. So when we first talked, which I think when was that? Earlier last year? Was it
Yeah,
like
like early
December last
last
year?
year. Yeah. So it's been
Like,
close to like a year.
yeah, it's been close, if not a little over a year,
Yeah, a
maybe.
little over the year, probably.
At the time, I think I was either program manager or program director at the Okra Project. So as of January of this year, I'm now the newly appointed executive director here. So really excited to be leading the work and leading this organization. Um, you know, we're still doing if you're viewing this or listening to this podcast and you listen to the previous podcast that I was on, then you know that we do a lot with liberation work, as far as liberation of the Black trans and queer community, through mutual aid and providing resources to that marginalized community. And so that has been the focus has not changed on that work. Um, Very much still focused on that, really just looking to expand and help more people. So that's really been my focus since I've been appointed as a new executive director here. And running consistent programming, I think that like one of the things that Okra struggled with in the previous years was that there was always changing of hands of who was leading the organization or staff and things like that. So right now, I have a pretty solid group of individuals that work with me that I feel really good about, um, and we work collectively. I lead intuitively, but I also love to work and lead collaboratively as well, and allow everyone to bring their thoughts and their ideas to the table. So very invested in liberation work and liberating the community.
Yes, for sure, for sure. And thank you for what you do in general, number one, because we definitely need a lot of resources. We like Black trans or trans in general need that help, that support because we live in a world as minorities. And even in the whole, if you want to just go ahead and start with the LGBTQ, when it comes to trans, I just feel like that is already, it feels like it's a minority in the minority.
Yeah.
Right, right.
And I hate that. And I really hate that. It's not right. And I feel like we definitely need more acceptance. We have a lot of work to do, and especially with what's going on in the world right now, because they're trying to reverse so much. It's just annoying. It's crazy. Like, but how is that for you as like a trans woman? How is that for you right now with everything that's happening in the world right now?
I will say someone, asked me the other day, I was doing like another podcast, and someone asked a very good question. And they're just like, with everything that is going on in the world and the way that you stand up and take care of community, like how are you taking care of yourself, which I think is important. Um, you know, I think it's been difficult seeing everything come and move down the pipeline, right? I do know as a Black trans woman, I do have a lot of privilege, as far as passing privilege, um, in the way that can navigate the world. I've had basically when it comes to gender affirming care and things like that, like I've had surgeries already. So nothing that I would want is being placed on hold. So I know and see the privilege that I have, right? As far as where we are right now. And it's up to me. And I think it's very important for me to also utilize that privilege and not fall silent because, and I think Mark, you and I talked about this previously, when I started my transition back in 2017, 18, I wanted to navigate the world as stealth for safety reasons. And so I think that what I am really teaching and trying to lean into and making sure that community knows is that while all these things are happening, it is important for us to continue to utilize our voice and use that power, and really demand what it is that we need outside of creating our own resources and our own social safety nets, right? But I mean, yeah, it's been difficult, like navigating that, trying to stay committed to the work because it's so exhausting that you wake up every day and there's a new headline about something being passed. Looking at my siblings that are losing access to healthcare and HRT, all those things. It's been really, really hard, but we press on.
Yeah. That's all
Yeah.
you can do. Just show up and try your best. That's all we can do is try our best and fight against this strong world, very strong world of hate.
Very.
It's a lot. When it's like just a small group, like it seems like a lot, but it's really not a big group. And then you have this big world of people who don't want to expand their minds and who don't want to accept people for just living in their truth. And this is supposed to be a world that's supposed to be the land of the free, like America. I don't know. Like recently, I was just so annoyed on July the 4th because
Mm.
I get it if you want to like whatever your traditions, but a lot of people want to celebrate freedom, but do we really live in the land of freedom with everything going on? We don't have equality here like we're supposed to have. Not everyone is treated the same. So you can't just be out here like, oh, America, I'm gonna do fireworks and stuff when you're trying to like reverse things. You're trying to go back to the early 1900s. And I'm like, yeah. So we definitely have like a lot of work to do.
Yeah. And I think that like it's so interesting like hearing you speak to that because that's the same exact sentiment that I had like around the fourth. Um, while yes, I did spend it with, friends and community, which to that point, I think that what Black people, specifically in this conversation, what Black trans and queer people have been able to do so well is basically create our own celebrations outside of those celebrations like the fourth that really don't mean or stand for what they were supposed to, right? So again, we're creating our own liberation, we're creating our own safety, we're creating our own neighborhoods, our own communities and things like that. But in the words of Marsha P. Johnson, until all of my people are free, there's no reason to celebrate. So that's just, how I feel about it and how I approach it as well. Same sentiment with pride sometimes, but yeah.
Yeah, likewise, I feel that. Yeah, so let's talk about Pride. I know that was a busy month for you, and with all the work that you put in, like, what was Pride Month for you? How was this Pride this year for you?
Pride this month was a whirlwind. I am still exhausted from Pride, and I think that like that just comes with the territory of leading an organization like the Okra Project. I think what we find with Pride has historically always been to me whitewash and a very cis gay male type of event, and we've strayed away from the fact that Pride was a riot. Like when we think about it, it was a riot for our freedom. So. Um, and just access to basic human decency as the community. And so it was interesting that this pride with everything that was happening, and I think that there is a disconnect oftentimes. Historically, there's always been this disconnect, I think, with cis gay men, specifically cis gay white men, to where it is still the party still goes on, right? While community siblings are suffering. So, we have all these laws and these bills that are being passed down the pipeline, bans on drag performers, bans on access to trans healthcare and things like that. And so, my sentiment around it, and it's sometimes difficult to navigate because the sentiment is, like I said, like, what are we celebrating really? But also knowing that it is a time for organizations like mine who need funding to continue to create resources and access for community to be in the front and getting our name out there so that those resources continue to come in and I can
Yeah.
bank on that white dollar coming into the organization to fund, what it is that we do here. Um, But even outside of that, it was just super, super busy being a new executive director and reintroducing myself to the world, or having to reintroduce myself to the world and having to reintroduce the organization. I don't know if anyone has had the opportunity yet to check out the new website, but we did recently just rebrand. And we launched a new website. I think that's visualized through our Instagram page as well. Like you see a shift in like the colors and everything that we've done. But it was super, super busy. I'm super still like exhausted from shaking hands and kissing queer and trans babies, so doing all of that. But it was good. I will say it felt good to be in community this year. New York City Pride put us on the Heritage Float, which is, I guess, their uplifting and kind of like ode to Black trans and queer-led organizations here in New York. So that was a really nice touch. And they really highlighted the work. They also like had granted us some funding. We did the Black Trans Joy Fund right before Pride, um, where we invested, in Black trans joy, in which we gave out stipends for Black trans and queer people to do whatever it is that brought them joy with that money that they got. And so Pride donated a grant to us, or provided us a grant to extend that program, which was a nice touch. It made me be like, okay, well, I can show up, I can celebrate this, you're funding our work, so I can show up to this. That's fine. But it was great. It was very fulfilling throughout everything that's happening.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so let's
Kira, I was gonna say, it looks like Kira has a question. Looks like
oh,
you want to say something. I could be
Yeah.
wrong.
Just taking a step back as your new role, what is your main goal, or what are some of your goals that you want to accomplish as executive director?
Oh, so many to name. That's a good question, though. So many. I want, I look at the Okra Project. While the work that we do is great, it never falls, I guess, deaf on me that we are really just a band-aid, right? Um, and we do the work in and against this system that should not exist, right? We should not have to do this work. While we do good work, we should
Yeah,
not have to do this. These resources that we're creating and things like that should be accessible, and the government should be providing these things to us.
right.
And so I think that, one of the goals that I have outside of, providing mutual aid and services to community, I'm very active in the fight against, government, capitalists, and things like that. For those of y'all who don't know me, like on a deeper personal level, can I cuss on here?
yes, dude.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I'm a very radical ass bitch, like
Yeah.
anti-capitalist, like,
I love it.
borderline, abolition. I mean, I still think like abolition has been something that I've been navigating really as of this year, and really trying to like learn the fundamentals of it, and learning like, but how also do we hold people accountable when they do wrong?
Right.
But not leaning on, the justice system that continues to fail Black and brown people. Um, but being radical in the sense of, yes, like burning the system down. Like I think that is one of my goals, is like providing my community with the resources that they need, but also tweaking the system or burning the system down to where we no longer have to do that work and those resources flow endlessly and continuously to us. So I would say that would be one of my goals.
Yes, definitely. I hear you there. I mean, I agree. It shouldn't be something that you have to do or fight for. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Mhm.
At all.
At
At
all.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and doing the work, I think that while it is, rewarding and things like that, like it is tiring. Like
Yeah.
it's an everyday thing. I was having a conversation with a friend at dinner last night, and it's like, you constantly, me as a leader in community and of an organization like this, like I constantly have to be on. There's sometimes when I'm in queer spaces and community spaces to where people are talking to me about the needs, and, people are DMing me about the needs that they have. And one of the things that I say, not to people, but like in my mind, I think about it. Sometimes it's just like, listen, I have to, for my own mental health, I have to turn it off sometimes. I
Yeah.
can't always be, Gabrielle that leads the Okra Project. Sometimes I just want to go outside and just be Gabrielle, you
Right.
know.
Yes.
I say, I lead a nonprofit. I am not a nonprofit.
Absolutely.
Like I lead a nonprofit, but I am not a nonprofit. So
Exactly.
it's just like, navigating those things too is sometimes difficult because you want to be there and be that community shoulder and ear. But again, like how am I pouring into myself? How am I being cared for when I have so many people depending on me? So
You have a big role to fill, and so no one can really expect one person to always be taking on so much and not pouring into yourself. And if
yeah.
you pour into yourself, how are you going to show up for other people, like that, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like if you have your days where like, I just want to go out, be Gabrielle, I want to just have a spa day, or I just want to go to the park and have a picnic or whatever it is that you like. I mean, or just go on do not disturb on your phone, have a bubble bath, whatever it is, you
Yeah.
deserve that. Like anyone. It's just I actually had a conversation recently with someone and we were talking about everything that's going on. And it just got to the topic of even if you want to change the world or like you got to show up to do your best, but every day you're not gonna we're still human beings at the end of the day, no matter if you're a leader, whatever position you're in. So nobody can show up every day and just give their all every day. And
Mhm.
especially like with you, I mean, for you on a weekly and daily basis, like your job as a leader, you have so many people contacting you, but you still have to make that time for yourself so you can really free yourself, feel good. And then I feel like we really get inspired more when we're just free of thought, when we don't have to worry about anything and we're not thinking about anything. That's when things come to us. And no matter
Mhm.
who you are, we all need that. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think touching on something that we have coming down here at the Okra Project, we're doing an upcoming program, or we're wanting to do one where we basically support or pour into trans and queer leaders in the community specifically because it's important. Like you said, like if I'm depleted or if I don't have what I need or my needs met, then I cannot do, I can't do the work. And so one of the things that may people listening to this may find shocking is that, I think that people look at, you know, trans activists and advocates and advocates and activists, with thousands of followers, maybe even a blue check mark, or out here doing things. And the thought process is that, oh, well, you've made it. So you no longer need a level of love, care, and joy or
Mhm.
resources. And that's really not true. That's not the case at all. So
You need it more than ever now.
you need it more than ever now if
Yeah.
you're putting yourself on the front lines, right?
Mhm.
There's been so many of my siblings who do this work alongside me who have found themselves in very shitty situations, be that on the verge of homelessness, or just needing access to also their, health and healthcare needs being met. And I want people to, I think when we think about leaders and community, I want people to remove the capes that they put on us, that we're not really asking for either, but and recentering it in a way of like, yes, this person is doing the work and it's great. And how do I support them? So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. It's just so much to talk about with this. It's just so much to talk about to go into.
Yeah.
Um, what I do want to talk about is you being featured in People recently. So I want to talk about that. So we
Okay.
have a superstar cover model, like everything.
Yes.
I know you were like in the magazine, but I still like to just give you your flowers. You were a cover model.
Thank
I
you.
love your picture. I was just scrolling on Instagram and I was like, what? I
Yeah.
thought it was like shocking that it would never be a thing. It's just, when you don't expect, you're just scrolling on your feed and you see that. And of course, I didn't know anything about it. I was like, oh my gosh. So
Yeah.
number one, congrats.
Thank you.
I am so happy that you had the opportunity because I've been seeing you for years. Like we've talked in our last chat, to the new audience, a lot of people don't know that me and Gabby have been following each other for like the longest, for years online, even like since like once you started your transition and everything. And so I actually remember just seeing that whole thing just transpire like over the years and seeing where you are now being the activist. And that's why I love you so much. And I really appreciate everything that you're doing for the community, because it's very empowering and it's inspiring. But
Yeah.
just seeing that, it's just it's amazing. So how was that process for you?
You know, it was, people would ask me, they're like, you know, how long were you sitting on this? And of course, like, you can't talk about it when it happens, but they reached out and they were just like, hey, like, we're doing this Pride issue. We've been following you. Like, we love the work that you're doing, and we love the work that the Okra Project is doing. We love to feature you in our Pride issue. Um, and the Pride issue was, like, I think it was titled like "You Make Me Proud."
Yes.
Um, and so having celebrities, you know, speak to myself, the work of myself, and other advocates and business owners that are really deep in the trenches of doing the work, was really powerful and really affirming for me. I was super, super excited. It was a great article. You know, I'm always kind of like in my mind wondering, like, when I do interviews or like when people do write-ups, what they're gonna put out there. I'm
Yeah.
always like, hmm, I know, because I've seen the way that media works. So they can take something and twist it. So I'm always like very cautious about taking on things. And I remember sitting on this for a while and I was just like, all right, let's just do it.
Yeah.
Let's just do it. I was just like, let's do it. What's the worst that can happen? You know, the worst that could happen is it's a crappy, you know, article that I don't like. I can control that narrative though. And I leave my life in that way. I can control the narrative. No matter what someone writes or says about me, I control the narrative. Um, but it was awesome. It was great. The only thing was that was wild was it was the photo shoot that they did was like a week after I had FFS. I had facial surgery. So I was like still swollen and like I was just like, can I just send y'all some photos? They were like, no, like, you know, we're flying our team in, like they're gonna come and do all these things. And I was just like, I felt very self-conscious about it. But what I will say is, one thing I will say about people, and I have not experienced this or heard about this from other publications, is because I'm not putting any business out there, putting them on blast, but like typically, you know, we would not have much say so over the photo that is in it.
Yeah.
And I will say that they really took their time and worked with me around like what worked for me. And also like with the editing and stuff, they're like, okay, well, like tell us what you would like us to do or what needs to change. These are the photos that we chose, you know, what needs to change? Or can you send us a picture of, you know, what you would like it to look like? Because I was really swollen, like throughout the entire photo shoot, like I was taking breaks to ice
Wow.
my face and like taking Tylenol and like it was a wild experience. But very happy with the outcome. I think now looking at my face, I do look different than that photo now because a lot of the swollenness has come down, but I was still very pleased with what they wrote, and I was still very pleased with the photo that they chose. And I was very honored to have my voice, my work, and my name uplifted in that way.
Yes, yes, yes. And that's a huge platform, number one. So that's why I just thought it was so great, because with what you're offering, what you bring to the table, and with who you are in general, that just opened like a whole door for like you, the Okra Project, and what you're for people to find you. So I feel
Yeah.
like when we're walking in our purpose, we're here for like those people who are looking for us to find us. And that's like kind of quoting Mel Robbins. It's like some quote that was going around when she was talking about social media and, you know, when you're online and you're expressing yourself or putting out your purpose, and, you know, the people who need you will find you. And I just think that's great because you have that big platform. But no, I thought it was crazy because I remember you did tell me, like, when we talked about, like, you know, even just setting up this chat about it being a week after your surgeries, because you had, yeah, FFS, which is facial feminization, and
Surgery, yeah.
surgery. Yeah, surgery. Okay, and so did you have your other surgery around that time too?
Yeah, so I had vaginoplasty February 1st of this year, and then I had FFS May 15th. So May 15th of this year. So everything was like knock knock, boom boom, knock it out, you
Yeah.
know. Which again, I speak to that privilege of being able to get those surgeries and having those things done. But yeah, like I had both those surgeries back to back. And so still healing from it because it's still, part of the healing process. Um, but yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Well, you do look amazing because before we started, we were briefly chatting about how like sometimes people, people will say like, oh, I see something different in you, but sometimes we don't see that in ourselves sometimes. And I agree with that. I feel like we look at ourselves so much, even if it's something that we are changing and we don't see as much, but other people will definitely tell. You know,
Yes. Yes. I
yeah.
remember like, pre-transition, I used to get Botox and like people like, oh, like your face looks tighter or like it looks, the lines are gone. And I'm like, really? Like I can't, you see it? Like I thought I need to go get some more. But then that creates what we seen with some people like the cat lady, where it's just like, yeah, too much. But
Much.
um yes, so those surgeries and both surgeries have gone like super, super well. I think that, a little bit before the call, like you were speaking to, Mark, we talked a little bit like how the healing process was and everything. I will say, like the vaginoplasty, it was a little difficult. Going through that surgery, um, was very happy with the results, but also having this surgery. And I don't say when I say this, I'm not saying that there's ever like the right or wrong time to have the surgery or to transition, right? But for me, I also had this surgery much later in life. For those who are listening, I'm in my 30s. I ain't gonna tell my exact age, but I'm in my 30s. So now just coming up on that and like having to learn how to take care of a vagina has been a bit of a struggle and a little difficult, especially because like you have your surgeon, your surgical team that follows you for a year, and the process of healing takes up to a year, so they don't really want like anyone else messing with it. So like they're like, we'll refer you to a gynecologist at like 9 months post-op, like we'll go into that. And I'm like, well, what about now? Because from after the 3 month mark, yeah, tell me that yes, I can start having sex. So what about my vaginal care now? Which they really don't. They're surgeons. Like they don't really have all of that knowledge. So a lot of it has been like trial and error, talking to sisters who've had the surgery as well, looking up information online. And shockingly enough, there is not a lot of research that has been done on neovaginas. What doctors do know is that the microbiome of the neovagina is very different than the natal vagina. Um, but there's not extensive research on it, as far as like yeast infections and BV and STIs and what it's more susceptible to, or that it does it clean itself, is it self-cleaning? All these things that are just not out there. And so I know that not only I've been struggling with it, but I know a lot of my other sisters have been struggling with it as well. So I think that's been the most difficult part of that surgery. Other than that, I'm really happy with the results. Um,
Yeah.
Sex is great. And yeah.
Okay, but so it feels good, feels amazing. You got it
It
all
feels good. It
approved in. You
feels
got
amazing. It's great.
mm-hmm.
It looks great.
Yes.
But yeah, I think that's what I would say like is the most difficult part. I also, I went right here to Mount Sinai here in New York, their Transgender Center for Medicine and Surgery, which they are amazing. They have an amazing care team. They do amazing work. But like I said, that's the only thing that's been really difficult is like they don't have like the gynecologist perspective, and they don't really want anyone messing with it just quite yet,
Yeah.
while it's in this healing stage. And so um I try to be open and honest and transparent, via my social media platforms about my experiences because, and I know Mark, you and I have talked about this, I think before we got on, but there's just not a lot of information out there specifically for Black trans femmes or Black trans women who are seeking gender affirming surgeries. It's always from the lens of like, or we always see white trans women, getting their surgeries. And like those experiences are different, like for a multitude of reasons, for a myriad of reasons. Like they have the access to get these surgeries because they have the money, right? They have the support systems typically. They also sometimes have, friends and family that they're very, very close to outside of, outside of like Black trans women who are more often than not ostracized from our families. And while we do a great job of creating community and family units within our own circles, I think it's sometimes difficult and there's a bit of a disconnect from someone who, again, who has not had that procedure, has had that surgery. And what I've also found is that a lot of Black trans femmes don't really openly discuss their surgeries. Yeah, like you may see a girl go dark on social media and then pop back up with like her new titties or, a new face. But they're not talking about the experience. And I've also heard some girls that have, reached out to other trans women who they know have had surgeries or gender affirming surgeries to kind of like gauge and like ask them. And they just have not been like kind, or there has not been a kind, response. So there's a lot of gatekeeping around doctors that you go to, a lot of gatekeeping around like the necessary information that we should be sharing with each other when it comes to these type of things. And so I find that it sometimes deters like the younger girls, from getting the surgeries that they want or really pursuing it, unfortunately. So
I think that's the thing. Like from your, like, why do you think that's the thing, if you don't mind me asking?
I think that I'm not dragging my sisters when I say
Gotta be
this, but
honest and transparent. Yeah.
I'm being honest and transparent is I think that what I see often is like the girls want to be the best of the best.
Mm,
We want to look the best. So I think a lot of that is really kind of like gatekeeping who
yeah.
you to, because especially if they did a great job, right? Um, the other thing I think that could possibly play a factor into it is maybe, and this may just be a stretch, right? But maybe there's like shame and guilt maybe about talking about like what you had, or
Yeah.
yeah, I can't like really put my finger on it. I do believe it's the latter though, of
You
like
know.
just not wanting to share that information and being like, because I mean, I like out of the comments that I've heard about, other trans femmes not sharing that information, a lot of the responses were like, well, girl, like I had to do the research too, so you should be able to do the research as well. And that's, yeah, that's true, but like why we should be, I don't know, like as pioneers, like as far as the work is concerned too, and as far as some of these things are concerned, like we need to be leading from that perspective of like, yeah, like ask me, girl, and I can help point you. Yes, do your own research, but I can also help and point you in the right direction of the things that that you want and the things that I did. So yeah. So I would just, if there are any trans femmes that listen to this or listening to this, yes, definitely do your research. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me via my social media if you have any questions. Again, I make posts every couple months to talk about my post-op journey on my face and my vagina. And so yeah, like, but
Yeah.
it's very important. I cannot stress enough, it's very important to do research and ask the doctors like to see their work too.
Yeah. And then I'm sorry, everyone, like in the community, we gotta help each other out. We gotta help each other out. Stop withholding information. Like, yes,
Yeah.
just do research to anyone who's listening, like Gabby is saying, do your research, but also to those who may I don't know, maybe you feel like you're being a little attacked right now, whatnot, you're being pointed out, but we're already a minority. Let's just help each other out. We're here. I feel like in life, we're here to grow, learn, share, evolve.
Absolutely.
That is like the cycle of life. That's just my perspective. I'm not saying that's a fact, but that's just how I feel. And because, even like in the just general community of like gay, let's say guys or like this, cis, this, that, and the third, I know sometimes there can be this weird thing to where like, let's say you have, I guess we're going there, but like you'll have like certain like of like certain film on film guys that like they'll like you'll see each other and then it's kind of like weird energy. Like
Yeah.
why are we like this? Like we don't need to have
Yeah.
energy
You
like
know, like you see
wow.
people do it too with like, I mean, as minuscule as it is, but like you see people do it with clothes. Like, you ask somebody, oh my God, like I love your shirt. Where did you get it? And like,
Yeah.
there's that ongoing joke where people are like, oh, I don't remember where I got it from.
Yes,
And it's
yes,
like, because you don't want somebody to go get it. But like, why? That's a very mean,
yes. Hmm.
spirited and rooted mentality to have. And I think that, from what I've seen, granted, I've come across some amazing sisters and, I have sisterhood here, especially ever since moving to New York. Um, the sisterhood that I've been able to cultivate here has just been on another level and something that I've never experienced before, back home. But, um, yeah, just like share that mean girl mentality is not cute. Like it's not cute, especially like, when you start getting up to a certain age, it's like, girl, we're not in high school no more. And even in high school, it wasn't cute, but it's just like, yeah, that mean girl mentality, I think that really runs rampant in our community, unfortunately. And yeah, so
Yeah, very rampant. Like I see that, yes, the trans community, but as well as just the general, just gay communities, cis, whether you're like a guy or a girl, I've seen that as well too. And I'm the type of person, I'm like, I'm going to share my information. Like I'm going to share whatever. Like if you're like, oh, you compliment something, like, yeah, I got it from here, this, that, and the third, because everyone raws things differently. I just want people to be happy. And that's it.
yeah,
And
and
we
that's
don't,
it. There's no need to gatekeep. Like I hate gatekeeping with a passion.
yes.
I think that like, um, yeah, that's just one of my biggest pet peeves. It's just like, let's not do that. Like you said, let's share the wealth, let's share information, let's share resources and things like that. So
Yeah. Okay, so how is dating? For like, I don't know, are you dating? Are you in a relationship? I
I
mean,
am dating someone.
okay, I was wondering, okay. It
Listen,
just kind of came up.
well, like, on the last check-in that we did, I was talking about my past relationships and then I was kind of like dating, but I had just gotten to New York. So
Yeah.
um I am dating someone now. And I mean, I had told myself like after my last relationship,
Yeah, because we
that I
talked
was
about
just like, we gonna keep it off social media. I'm gonna do everything private. But this one I've kind of like, this person makes me feel safe and secure in a way. We both have like social advocate platforms too. And so it's just like it's a little difficult, like when you're always with this person and y'all always together, and people are like, wait a minute, like what y'all doing? And so, I don't always, I think I made like finally last week, I think I made like a big appreciation post to them. I don't know if you saw it like on my story where I was just
oh, so
like,
that's okay. Okay.
yeah, I was just kind
Okay.
of like, thank you for coming into my life. You've shown me so much, like you involved me in your life, and I'm so grateful and I'm so honored to be connected to you and to know you. So yeah, so to answer the question, yes, I am dating someone.
Yes.
Um, we met earlier this year and it's kind of just been a slow kind of, take our time and like just really get to know each other. But we're both very supportive of one another's journeys and our the work that we do, our lives. And yeah, it's been great. It's my first, like, I think it's the first relationship that I've ever been in that has just felt easy. Like I felt like I feel like I don't have to try or work really hard to keep this person interested and invested.
Yeah.
Um wanting to hear what I have to say, creating that safe space of, making me feel safe and secure to where if I'm ever uncomfortable about something, or if I just want to talk to them about something relationship wise, that like we can come to each other and we have those conversations. I no longer, well, in this union, I don't feel, scared to express my needs, my concerns, my thoughts, and things like that. So it's been very healing. It's been very freeing. I'm super, super happy. And uh they're one of the greatest people that I've ever met.
Shout out, babe. Shout out, Gabby.
Okay, shout out to Bay.
Shout out. We love that. We love that. That I don't know. I felt like I felt butterflies just from what you were saying, and it's not even me.
And I think like when you think about, I think also like just that part is just like we don't often see Black trans women being loved on
Right.
loudly and proudly. And so like it means so much to me to sometimes like when we're walking down the street and they grab my hand and like, things like that. Like even like those little things just really just add so much happiness to my life. And like it's great. And I think it feels really, really good to be a Black trans woman that's being loved and cared for in this way. And
Mm.
I think it's important. Like it's important to not only um my well-being, but also like when we talk about like liberation work, also my liberation as my identity and who I am. So it's been great.
What's so beautiful about this is that to anyone who's listening, Black trans sisters, or just know that you can find yourself, you can find your beauty, you can find your person. That it is like, look at this, you really are like a living testimony of going through a whole life transition of change, transformation, evolution, and there's still a lot of work to be done, but you're still doing what you have to do. You're doing what you have to do for yourself. You found love, and I feel like sometimes, like a lot of us in the community, sometimes can feel like, am I ever going to get that? Am I ever going to feel that way? And not
Yeah,
saying just because you feel that way and you have this, let's also make this clear. Just because Gabby is an executive and she has love does not mean that her life is perfect. Nobody's life is perfect. And I'm just
absolutely.
saying this because, like what we were talking about earlier, because they're like, I know you have all these expectations and things like that. But life does get better. Things do get better. If you want it, you pour into yourself and you let it be known who you are and what you want. You can get that, you know?
And you get it. Yeah. Yeah. You have to just really be, I think that like for a lot of my sisters, historically we fall into these situations where, you think that like this is all I'm gonna get. Again, I am a girl from St. Louis, um, had relationships in St. Louis that weren't the greatest. And my mind frame at that time was like, well, I have to settle for this because this is all I'll ever get. This is the best that I'll ever be able to have. Um, in life and moving to New York has really taught me that that is not true, right? I talk a lot about changing the narrative and creating your own narrative and creating your own story. And I think that um, we can do that. And again, there's privilege in being able to do that too. I don't want that to, fall deaf on deaf ears here. It's like, yes, there's a lot of privilege in being able to do that, but it is possible. And that is liberation work because that means we're trying to hold people, government, these oppressive systems to accountability and saying, hey, these are the things that we need to have full lives. And once we have these things, then the rest of our lives can also flourish. Um, and so I think that that's important to note as well. And so that's why I do the work that I do to make sure that my community and my siblings can have a piece of the pie. And
Yeah.
hopefully, while getting a piece of that pie, can also get other slices of that pie as well. So that's love, job, happiness, joy, whatever that may look like to you. But yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely the goal for sure. So I want to ask you what, if you could name like one or two things that you feel like really needs to change in the whole community of our whole alphabet,
Mhm.
what do you think should be changed on you can, I don't know, you can name certain type of roles, whether it's like, the cis men or white, cis, white, trans, whatever. Like, what do you think needs to be changed for us as to be more of a community, for us all to accept each other more? I don't know.
I think that, and this is something that I talk about a lot, and like we talk about it every year, I think of, and when Pride rolls around. Um, it's always interesting that while we think about what's happening right now, so like the drag bans, um, the bills and laws being passed against, trans youth, and even trans adults, and trying to block access to care, safety, and things like that. Um, it's always interesting to see cis gay men in our community position themselves in a way that, since they're not really affected by it, that they don't really have to do anything. Um, when in reality, I think the rest of our community, without the help of the trans community, would not have any of the rights, and access that the community as a whole has currently. And I think that the T in LGBTQIA, is often, far too often, left behind. I also see it with the B, like, there's always this issue about bisexuality or bisexual people, um, in which you have, like, gay people saying that, oh, well, like, bisexuality isn't a thing. Like, you're just using this because of da 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 da. And it's like, that's not true. And that's also not your place to, deny someone else's experience. But what I would like to see, and what I would like to see change, and it's kind of like beating a
Yeah.
horse, is but more support for the rest of the community from cis gay men, because especially cis gay white men, because they hold so much privilege. Like, regardless of your gayness, you still have privilege as a man,
Exactly.
um, and then add being a white man to that as well. There's still a lot of privilege there that
Yes.
can be utilized and weaponized in order to help the community move forward. But unfortunately, it always falls on the shoulders of Black and brown, trans, and queer people to lead these liberation movements and lead the community as a whole to freedom. While they cis gay men sit back and reap those benefits. Um, there's always memes that are floating around during Pride, and I think that they're so funny and I love to see them. But it's like, I sent my friend one the other day, and it said um something about liberation, but it was like white uncooked chicken breast, like lined around a pool, and like that is basically, what most people think, like, oh, like, pride and gay, like people think that's what that is. And it's just like, well, no, like, that's not what it is. Pride was a riot. Pride was the gay liberation movement
Yeah.
years ago, was led by Black and brown, trans, drag queens, lesbians. Um, and we have to make sure that we continue to acknowledge that, and we have to continue to uplift the work that the people that have been passed those torches are currently doing to move our community forward and fight the systems and the powers that be. And yeah, we won't be free until the most marginalized are free.
Right.
So
Exactly.
yeah. So
And
that's what I would like to see change, and that's something that we talk about every year. And I will say it over and over and over again. But yeah.
yes, thank you for that. Thank you for that, because so many people really needed to hear that. And I'm sorry to the white cis gay guys. I need you guys to do better. We need you guys to do better. Stop overusing your privilege, because you do have privilege,
Mhm.
just because you're gay. And yes, we deal with a lot of just being gay in general, whatnot. But if you are a white cis male or white, usually if you're white, you have that privilege. We all know this. Just be
Yes.
better.
Just
treat
be
people
better and do
better.
better.
Understand
Okay.
we are all siblings in this community. We got to take care of each other because we are a minority and I don't care, but you need to also take care of your Black and brown sisters, whether trans, lesbian, gays, and understand that you have a privilege and you got to speak up and use your voice.
And you have to. I cannot tell you like the amount of like cis gay men that work at like corporate level jobs and things like that. And like they're over like, you know, part of the like the diversity inclusion or either marketing or something like that that will reach out and they're like, oh, well, like how we, you know, this company wants to support the work that, you know, the Okra Project is doing or another organization is doing, you know, how do you suggest that we do that? And it's just like, I should not be coming up with that. Like, you should just be coming up. Honestly, you should be coming to me with just a check, honestly.
Yeah.
Yes, like, you know, let's
Yes.
be honest, like, you should just be coming to me with a check to fund the work that we're doing. I should not be having to do a lot of the labor to teach you or tell you how to support a marginalized community or how to support a Black trans-led organization. Um, and we should not be dancing and dibbling around like this idea that well, we want to show up and we want to support, but we don't have the budget. If I have to hear that from a
Yeah.
company again, I am going to scream. Like this year, you know, everyone was like, and we saw it, right? We saw, you know, Target pull away from Pride merch. You know, Google just pulled out of a LGBTQI plus event that I think that they were sponsoring. And that's what we don't need right now, right? We need corporate sponsorship. We need corporate entities and businesses to really just pull up their pants, roll up their sleeves and say, no, like we are in support of this community. Because let's be honest, will will sales probably drop? Possibly, but I doubt the sales would drop enough to where those type of companies would see a huge dent
Exactly.
in their sales. You know, who cares that Billy Bob and their backwoods family is
Right.
no longer shopping at Target? The 10 of them, you know, are no longer shopping at Target. Like that should not be the basis or yeah,
And
that should not
good.
be what they're looking
I
toward,
don't
you
need
know.
those type of people anyways. Like if
Yeah.
you if you have an issue with people being happy, being themselves and not harming, just living like you living your best, you know, being like a trans woman, me being
Mhm.
like a gay Black male, just us being ourselves, that's not hurting anybody. We're not
No.
out here killing, we're not just stealing from people, we're not doing just the most mediocre, like horrible thing.
Hmm.
You guys want to be mad at us just for being our best beautiful selves.
Yeah.
And that's what sucks about the world. And I feel like these corporations, these big corporations, they need to just listen to us and stop worrying about money and their power so much. Because guess what? Once you take care of these communities that need help, guess what? Everyone's going to adjust. Because after a while, these people who want to, they'll back out of Target or whatever it is right now. But guess what? They're going to come around.
Yeah.
They might
Everyone will
not be
adjust.
tough, but whatever.
Everyone will adjust. And I think that like what it really speaks to, because you know, someone had asked me, like, well, why do you think all these corporations are like, you know, at the last minute pulling out and doing all this? You know, my thought is that a lot of the support that we were receiving from those companies was performative. And so what happens is they're relying on the community's dollar. But someone somewhere at the top, someone feels like, oh, you know, this particular group of people, Republicans or whatever, conservatives, they secretly probably align with, um, are causing a rift. And they kind of like make that decision just to kind of be like, all right, well, I too feel like we don't need, you know, the community's dollar. So we're going to pull this merchandise. I don't think it has anything, like I said, I don't really think it has anything to do with sales or anything like that. Because I think that we do have more liberal people in the, to me, I feel that we have more liberal people in this country than we do conservative, but we have to stop allowing, you know, conservatives and closed-minded and short-minded individuals to make decisions on behalf of everybody else, you know? So.
Like some of these people in office, they're really old. They don't want to expand their minds. They don't want to see what we have going on. That's the issue. I was talking to someone the other day, like even for president, I feel like we need to have someone like in their 30s, early 30s or something like that. We don't need someone who's like,
About to kick the can.
yeah, basically. Yeah, exactly. So I'm just like, we need like a lot of change in the world, but it
Yeah.
does start from us. And what I was talking to my friend about the other day was we already know how corrupted like the government is, people, like big corporations, this, that, and the third sometimes. So that's why us as people, we need to see the bigger picture. We
Yeah.
all like our whole purpose, we should want to live better lives, live the lives of our dreams, do what we want to do every day with our best interests and skills. So
Yeah.
let's just lead with love more. Let's accept people. If it's not hurting us individually, who cares who put in what and who, It
Absolutely.
doesn't matter. Like I'm happy, like I don't care what the next person is doing as long as they're not hurting anybody and they're fulfilling their purpose. That's all that matters. And they're showing love. And that's just what it's all about.
Absolutely. I could not agree more.
Yeah, yeah. And I just can't like speak out like even more. I'm sorry, I'm so tongue twisted today. I forgot my hot tea today, guys. So excuse me. But no, so like I've had I have a current, friend who's in the stages of transitioning. A few years ago, I had a friend who transitioned and everything like that. So I've been a part of the journey. So that's why when I see someone like you, that's why I just always smile because I love the work that you do. I love who you are, and I love our like Black and brown trans sisters. Whether you're trans in general as well as not, we're not trying to exclude anyone. For you people who get mad like with the Black Lives Matter, like all lives matter, I'm like, no, we're not saying that all lives don't matter. We're just saying that we matter too, because we see that there is privilege and a lot of people who don't, who already benefit. You're good, so you're not worried about anyone else, but you should be worried about what's going on. So
Yes.
just be better people.
Be better people. That's what the ending is. Be better people.
Yeah, and that's it. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I feel like there's so much. Gabby, we definitely need to have another chat with you. There's so much that we can get into, but I don't know. I think that was good. I just want to thank you for you being you once again. I want to thank you for just being, because I feel like if you just be people, you just be yourself, you be your best self. Don't be scared. Just be. It's gonna be okay.
Yes.
You're gonna get through it. There is support out there, and just seek it, find it, research it. And to some of those who like to keep information, stop keeping information.
Yes.
Pay for other people to thrive. It's not going to take any shine away from you. We can all shine in our own light. We're all unique individuals. So let's
Yes.
be unique. Let's stop being stagnant to the way the world used to be and how they want us to continue to be one way. But yeah, so Gabby, do you have anything else that you need to say, or you feel good?
I feel great. I get so excited to connect with you. So this
Same.
was great. I was glad that I was able to come here and share some thoughts and some experiences, and drop some gems, if you will.
Yes.
Um, for any of those people out there that want to get engaged with the work at the Okra Project, you can follow us on Instagram at the Okra Project. We also have our new and improved website, theokraproject.com. You can donate via the website. People always are asking like, oh, well, like, how do I support the work? How do I get involved? I don't have any like volunteer, opportunities right now, but I always say, honey, you can always put your money where your mouth is. So
Yes.
you can always donate and share the message of the work that we do and support that way. And then if you want to follow me, I'm on Instagram at Muva, MUVA, Souza, SOUZA, on Instagram. And yeah,
Yes,
it's
and we'll
great.
have all that on the site and the blog post as well. So for whoever, so if even if you can't like rewind or whatnot, just go to our website, elonpodcast.live. We'll have all of Gabby's information listed under the post so you can find her. And yeah, so thank you all. We love you. Thank you, Gabby, for showing up and just being the person that you are. And until next time.
Until next time, peace out, y'all.